So the name of this podcast is Speak to the Money. And it's a
Why is
really,
it? Mhm.
yeah, it's an interesting subject because what we have learned being a consulting company over the years, when young entrepreneurs or startup companies come to us with a super cool product, or they have a great invention or a service to offer, they're ready to now go out and start talking to the money. And it's all at different levels. You know, the first round of money is typically friends and family, where you're talking to your friends and your family. And it's a little easier, it's a little more casual. Those people love you, so it's easy to talk to them. But then you're going to reach out at some point and start talking to new investors, people you've not met before, someone who's been referred to you. So you need to learn, or not you, but the business owners need to understand that the investors listen through filters. There's
What?
three
Uh-huh.
main filters that they
Mhm.
listen through. And if you can identify those and you can address those in your presentation, in your pitch,
Okay.
you will close the money.
Wow, that's interesting. So what are
Guaranteed.
those?
Yeah. So let's go walk through those. So basically, it's really understanding the psychology of how an investor looks and looks at your presentation and listens to you when you're speaking and asking for the money. So there's three main filters, and here they are. Number one, can they execute the plan? In other words, the investors listening to you do your presentation and looking at your pitch deck or reading your business plan, and he or she wants to make sure that the executive management team is going to follow through and execute the plan. Will they take it across the finish line? Many times that I've worked with as a consultant with companies, again, they have a terrific product, a beautiful new product or a service or a technology, but they don't have the experience at the management team to execute the plan. That's filter number one.
Mhm.
Filter number two is, where is the smoke and mirrors? And that's a term that's used in business, in the business world. And what it means is, what are they hiding? Or where is the fluff? So many times an investor is looking for you to be truthful. They don't necessarily want you to be exaggerating on the numbers. They don't want you to inflate the numbers. They want you to tell the truth. And so they're listening through a filter called, where is the smoke and mirrors?
So then, like, how would they know? Like, how would it feel like? Can you give an example, for instance? Like,
How would it feel for the investor? How would it
yes,
feel for
yes, for
the
investors,
investor?
yeah.
So an example is, the investor says, so you've got some sales going. What are your sales so far? And what do you think you're going to do by the end of the year? And their sales maybe 50,000 or 100,000, and they come back and say, oh, we're guaranteed to do 5 million by the end of the year.
Okay, and I guess
You're laughing already. You say that's kind of a stretch, right? Now look, they possibly could do that, but the investor is going to ask questions, and he or she is going to be looking for you to tell the truth, and they can tell when you're kind of outside the dots. Now we know in the very beginning, there's things called projections. You're projecting your sales, you're projecting your revenues, but you've got to be real about it. So that's one of the things.
Isn't, like, I guess you have to have a backup, right? Like, so you're saying you're gonna do 5 million. So what's the data, right?
That's a great word, great question. Backup is a great word. Or in the accounting world or in a financial world, another word for backup is assumptions. If you go out and you make statements, especially in the financial section of your business plan, and you start telling an investor that you're going to make X amount of dollars in this quarter, next quarter, and you think you'll be profitable by whatever it may be, you have to make sure you have the assumptions backed up. Now, in the very beginning, when you're raising friends and family money, you're probably not going to get a lot of what they call drill down or questions about that. But at some point you will. When you go to your Series A round, for sure, you want to have your house in order. And that's where you have to have an executive management team that has the experience, where it could be a CPA or an accountant that can do the financial modeling. And inside the financial modeling are assumptions. Because an investor, a smart investor, and I've been an investor before, I'll ask the question, Can you back up those numbers? Exactly what you just said, backup. That's a really important question. So the first filter is, can they execute the plan? The second filter is, where is the smoke and mirrors? Are they being honest with me? Are they inflating the numbers? The third filter, will they be good stewards of my money? In other words, are they going to have the integrity to do the right thing with my money? You know, there's red flags sometimes that an investor is looking for that will make an investor run away from the opportunity, such as they will look and see if there's large salaries and bonuses being paid out right out of the gate from shareholder money. That's a red flag. They'll look and see if there's car allowances, and if they're driving BMWs, and if they have company cars. They'll look at things like large, luxurious furniture and expenditures and offices. I know everyone has now. This doesn't fit everyone, because sometimes you may be a business where you have to have a show place. You have to have a beautiful office, but they want to make sure you're spending their investor money in the right place. Another red flag is exuberant travel and entertainment expenses. Another one is very little money allocated for research and development and marketing. That can be a red flag to an investor. Where is the money going? That's where this whole thing called use of proceeds comes into play. And they may ask you in the first presentation, when you're asking for money, even from friends and family, they may say, what are you going to use my money for? What's the use of proceeds? Do you have a use of proceeds table that explains it all? And then another one they look for is, which is a big no-no, they don't want to see new investor money coming into a company and paying off pre-existing loans. They do not want to see that. The money has to go to the investment money needs to go to the bottom line to forward the company. Forward the company meaning research and development, patents, sales, marketing.
So I guess like I have a question about, so I guess like if the company had the loan before, right? If they already raised money, you're saying that new investors don't want to see this new loan be paying off the old.
That's
right?
exactly
Is
right.
Right?
That's exactly right. Yep. And they also don't want to see that. Very often they will ask the question. They did it with my company when I raised money for my company years ago. What are the salaries? Who's making salaries? What's your monthly burn rate? What's your G&A? Burn rate and G&A. And for us, the answer was, and the investors love to hear this, we deferred our salaries. In other words, we're not taking our actual salaries today. We may take a small haircut, a small sliver of our salaries today. But what the investor wants to see, that you, as the founder of your own company and the executive, the CEO of your company, you're going to walk with the investors and build the company. And as sales come in and revenues start to explode and start to move, then you will take your bigger and larger salaries. They want to see you're going to walk.
Interesting. So I guess like, what's the problem if you do have a high salary for your employees, for instance?
Sometimes you have to. I mean, there's key people in your company. If you're a software development company, you may have to be paying a head of software development a very high salary just to get their attention and to keep and retain them. So that's there are special circumstances.
Okay.
But an investor will know that. If you're a software development company and he sees that you're paying the software developers their salaries, but you as a CEO or COO aren't taking yours or you're deferring yours, that's okay. They're going to feel comfortable about that.
Interesting.
Again, the investor is the three filters. Can they execute the plan? Where's the smoke and mirrors? Will they be good stewards of my money? Do they have integrity? Will they do the right thing with my money? Because what happens is young entrepreneurs starting their companies don't realize as soon as you take in your first investor dollar, it's no longer just your company anymore. It's the shareholder. The shareholders are now part of your company. So that's really, really important.
Interesting.
And then another thing that you need to do, there's always a question, there's a whole new door that opens up once you take investor money in. How do you how do you communicate with the shareholders? When do you communicate with the shareholders? So now your investors have become shareholders. You've taken their money. You're moving along. You're building your company. You now have to handle this whole thing called shareholder servicing, or what is also known as investor relations. Even if you're a private company, you have to reach out to the shareholders from time to time.
So then, like, for instance, if I'm the startup, right? Do I communicate with them directly, or do I do it through the company like you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in the very beginning, you probably just want to be communicating for yourself. And if you have a small shareholder base, you want to be able to, you want to send them emails periodically. You want to do a Zoom call, maybe once a quarter. You want to, and maybe pick up the phone and call them. When I had my company and I was the co-founder of our media company, we had 91 shareholders, and I would make a point to call them at least once every few months, every shareholder. And it's just a 3-minute call. Hey, how you doing? This is where we're at. Just wanted to reach out. We appreciate you being a shareholder. Thank you for helping us build the company. But you want to go out and do that. Now, here's the other part of it. If you have many shareholders and also you're running your company, that can be a problem. It's almost like having two separate companies. You're running your day-to-day operations, and now you've got to put the pen down and you've got to pick up the phone or send an email to the shareholders or communicate with shareholders. That's where, yes, a company like my company, J. Cole and Associates, we come in and we handle the investor relations for you. We write the press releases if you have a press going to the public market. We write the internal shareholder communications. We keep the shareholders appraised. We take their phone calls. That's important.
So then, like, you said it's important, but like, why would it be important? Just so you kind of like connect and make sure, so you give them peace of mind, right? Or
yeah, there's a couple, that's great questions. A couple things going on there. You got to give them peace of mind, but the shareholders want to see that you're meeting and hitting your benchmarks. So in the beginning, when you showed them the business plan or the pitch deck, you said you would do certain things and with their money, and when you raise this amount of money, you do certain things, and they want to see that you're hitting your mark and you're executing your business plan. The other thing is, what I know for a fact, private companies, especially startup companies, you're always in the money raising mode. You're always raising money. You're always talking to shareholders. So if you have happy shareholders, they're going to go out and they're going to tell other investors, and they're going to tell their family members, and they could be a really great mouthpiece or a marketer for your company when you're raising capital. And also, and I've seen this happen to my company before, if an investor comes in and writes a check to the company and he sees you hitting your benchmarks, it's very likely they're going to want to reinvest. They'll put more money in the company. So that's why you want to stay in communication. You always want to be forward thinking and forward branding yourself with your shareholder body.
I guess you build even more trust, right? By doing that this way.
Absolutely. And look, I'm going to tell you also, even if you don't hit your benchmark and you have some hiccups, or you go down this path in your business plan and you find out that's not the right path, and you got to pull back out and take a pivot and go down another path. If you share that breakdown with your shareholders, they will stay with you. They will become your biggest cheerleaders. They appreciate you being honest and telling them the truth, even in the face of a breakdown. And again, that's a lot of work. That's running another company. That's why you need either an internal investor relations person or someone like my company managing that for you.
Wow. You know, you made me so excited. I feel like I want to just go and start talking to investors.
Start a company and raise some money, right?
Yes.
Remember, happy shareholders equals more investors.
Sounds like a statement, right?
It's a statement. It's a great tip, and it's true. It happens. Happy shareholders will bring you more money.
So when you were raising money for your company, how did it happen with you? Did you follow that path?
Yes, we did. We followed that path. We raised money. We did a couple of rounds of financing. We did a friends and family round, and then we did another friends and family round. We never went into really any seed capital because the company started to take off. We used a private placement memorandum with a subscription document. And we handled all the SEC compliance that we had to with the shareholders. Again, my background, I've been through Securities and Exchange Commission audits and investigations before, so I understand what a company needs to have their compliance in place on the back end with the shareholders. It's so important. You always want to be audit ready. So we went out and raised, we did 2 rounds of financing. I mean, I put money in my company. My business partner did too. His family did. But we went out and we did 2 financings. We did a financing at $1 a share, and then at $1.50 a share. We raised a total of $1.3 million, $1.4 million. And that was almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And now that particular company is in the process of spinning off one of its the divisions and doing an initial public offering. A $50 million public offering. So bootstrapped it, and look at it, wasn't always great. For 12 and a half years running that company, we had to go down paths, and we found out it was the wrong path. We had to pull out, we had to pivot and redesign our company and figure out, it's always fluid. You're always looking for the best path you can take for the company and the shareholders.
Wow, I guess once you're honest with your shareholders, it's let them stay with you longer and invest, like you said. And the amount that you shared is substantial.
It is substantial, and we thought we would have it done before. Here's another thing: managing shareholder expectations. We had communicated that we would have that done prior to when COVID hit. Then COVID hit, and our revenues fell by 83%, and we had to put that on hold, taking it to the IPO market because there were so many uncertainties in the public market sector.
Oh my God.
Now we're starting to come back, and we're starting to get our revenue back up, and we're starting to grow the company again, and then we're starting to complete our filings. But we were put on hold for 28 months. So that expectation was out there. Shareholders were happy, they were celebrating, they were counting their profits before we were even out the gate, and then COVID hit.
Well, knowing you.
Yeah, so the entertainment industry, hospitality, travel, hotel, food, those sectors really took a hit.
That's true. But, I think what's good is that you share in your experience. You've been through that, and I think that's important for future startups, who's trying to raise money. They're trying to find a person who would understand them and who's been on the other side too as an investor. So I think.
Yeah, I always tell young entrepreneurs, never be the smartest person in the room. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to surround myself with smart people because they can advise me, they can coach me, they can consult, guide me, and that's what we do at my company.
Awesome. John, thank you so much.
So just to recap, we talked about the filters. The investors look through, can they execute the plan? Can management execute the plan? The second filter is, where is the smoke and mirrors? And the third filter is, will they be good stewards of the money? And inside that, one of the things you always want to make sure you don't have as a business owner on your executive management team or on your staff are what are people known as bad actors. And it's a term used in business management. And a bad actor, what it means is if you have a sketchy background, let's say you had some professional licensing that you lost because you did something that was out of integrity. Let's say you had state and federal regulatory issues. Let's say you filed a bankruptcy. Let's say you're in the middle of a lawsuit. Those things you don't want to have as a business owner or a young entrepreneur. You do not want to have those people in your business plan because
they would
an investor will look for that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, many times. Like when I've invested in companies, I've done a LinkedIn search and a Google search on every executive staff member before I get on the phone with them or before I go take a meeting with them. I want to know who I'm talking to. But that also can work for the benefit for the business owner. The business owner also needs to do a background search if they can on the investors. They want to make sure they know the background of the investors. Got to remember, private investors and angel investors, a lot of them have had their own businesses. They've started their own companies. They've gone out and raised money over the years. They've been through what the young entrepreneur is just starting today. So they know a lot about the business. But also, if you do a background check on the investors, there's things that you can relate to when you're talking to them, and it can really help you get through the presentation and the meeting.
Building reports, right?
Building rapport is so key
That's
when you go to
interesting.
talk to the money. So really, I mean, the title of this is Speak to the Money. Most people that we find say, oh yeah, I know how to speak to the money. I know how to talk to the money. I know how to pitch presentations, but they really don't understand the psychology of private investors when they're looking at making an investment. And
That's
that's what
such a
we were
good
trying to
point.
cover today.
Yes, John, thank you so much. It's so important because you would, like you said, you would think that, oh, I know how to talk to people. I don't need this, but once you dive deeper and you understand those 3 points that you just covered, I think it would be easier for young entrepreneurs to.
If you're covering off those 3 points and it's pretty solid, you can pretty much guarantee you're going to get them to write a check.
Well, that's exciting, John.
Yeah. So you got to start
Thank
your
you
own
so.
company.
Yes, I'm going. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome, Kate. Have a great
Let me
day.
see.